Welcome to the video on starting the meeting in Zoom. This meeting was scheduled ahead of time, which gave me the opportunity to, through my main.edu, add it to my Google Calendar so I know that it is the correct meeting. As the host, I need to be the one to open the meeting ahead of time. And I am going to turn on my microphone and my video. Momentarily, we are going to have the rest of the participants join us. I'm going to now make that full screen, which can reduce distractions. And we'll see people come in one by one. Again, I really recommend the main.edu, which students, faculty, and staff can get to through their MyUSM portal. It has the most updated security features, as well as making the waiting room feature the default, and just makes it easier as well to integrate with your other Gmail, Google Calendar, and other functions just to maximize the abilities and flexibilities. It also means that you have more features than the free version, which has a time limit. So here's my indication that there's somebody who has come into my waiting room, and I've let in one of the participants. One other way, knowing that I have a number of folks coming in, that I would recommend is to open up the participants window. And what that allows me to do is to see who is there and make sure that it's actually somebody that was invited. So now I'm going to admit Christina. And as you will see, one by one, once they're admitted, they will turn on their webcams, their microphones, and they will be populated into the frame where you can see everyone who is in the video. So for this meeting, we have myself and 6 participants. I'll let them in as they request. One of the things that I think is really helpful with this feature is it allows you to not just take attendance, see who hasn't come in that you invited, but also to prevent somebody from Zoom bombing. If you haven't heard that, that term before, it means somebody looking for a Zoom meeting to jump in uninvited and interrupt. Yes, indeed, some people do that. So we only have a few more people that need to join. And I'm going to let Taylor in. And this might be a good time for me to, to also begin to check in with folks and make sure that I can see them, I can hear them. The default typically is that the participants are muted when they first come in. So what I'm going to do first of all is check to see, can everyone see and hear me by a thumbs up like this? Great, welcome to everyone. I think it's really important to make sure that first of all, folks can see and hear, but also that you've established how folks want to be recognized. So one of the tips I would suggest is, you see when you hover over the pictures, you see their default name. Sometimes it's their full name, sometimes it's their email address. You can suggest to participants that they can rename it, the tagline under their picture, to either their role in the meeting. Perhaps it would be their preferred name. They might offer some pronunciation if they think that's going to be an issue. They also can share their preferred pronouns. So I think that's a great way to be inclusive and make sure that everyone in the meeting feels as if they're acknowledged and respected. So we have everyone here who's supposed to be here. I'm going to use the features down below to control the flow of the meeting. I'm going to click on participants, which will get rid of that window. And as you can see, this is what they call the gallery view. You see several participants at once. I think it's a great way to make sure that you're attending to the whole group. And you can look for body language. You can look for people who might be raising their hands or trying to get your attention. You also, at any point, can click speaker view, which means that anyone who's talking draws the attention of the camera. But I'm going to, for the purposes of today, keep it on gallery view. So in terms of setting up the expectations for a meeting, it can be really helpful to lay out how we're going to interact. So I'll say to this group, feel free at any point, since there aren't that many of us, to physically wave or raise your hand if you want to get my attention. But often what you can do, especially if you have a larger group, is to use the raise your hand feature. So in the participants tool, anyone can go on here, and if you are a participant, you can raise your hand. There'll be a little icon. Could each person raise their hand? So you can see that not only does it appear on the screen so you can see it, you can see here who has raised their hand, and that way you can call on them. So you can put your hands down. Thank you very much. I'm going to click participants to reduce that. A few more things I'll point out in, just to wrap up this video is that you see that we have different backgrounds. So one of the things about using a tool like Zoom to connect is potentially being mindful of anything in your background that you might want to share or not want to share. So for me, this is a space I had available. So to reduce distraction, I wheeled my whiteboard over. You can see for Christina, she had a background that shows a lovely summer day outside of the Glickman Library. And Dinesh is somewhere in space. But as you can see from these backgrounds, they're not necessarily that distracting. I think there could be a novelty of having a background that might have animation or so forth, and some people might start changing their background. That can actually lead to some distraction in the meeting. So the other thing I would say is you might want to look around your environment before you join a meeting, whether it be a class, whether it be connecting with a classmate to do some group study. Just make sure there's nothing that you don't want seen. It might be that you really don't mind if everyone sees the water bottle that you're drinking of, but perhaps unless you're receiving some sort of kickback, you don't want to necessarily have a brand, but that's entirely up to you. So it is important to stay hydrated during these meetings and classes that can take a long time. So you might also want to think about that, having everything that you need in order to participate fully and be fully present. So with that said, cheers to my participants. And we are going to wrap up this initial video on how to set up and start your meeting. For those watching this, I hope you go into the next of the video series as we walk through each of the features and how to use Zoom for engagement and connection.
Thank you for watching this video on starting your meeting. Please be sure to check out our related videos on utilizing Zoom listed here. For additional information on academic support resources and strategies, visit us at usm.me.edu/agile.